All right, we are live.
What's up, guys? Shawn Bowen, Full Circle Investment Group and wholesalingoutofthebox.com back in for another lunchtime live. And just like it says in the header or in what we're doing today, leases and laundry and landscaping. Oh my. Multifamily deals are complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces when you have more than one door to deal with. Today, we're going to be talking about what we're going to give you is a long list of things to look for when you're evaluating multifamily deals. Sometimes these can be deal breakers and sometimes they can't. But definitely things you need to know before you're trying to wholesale a property and or buy it. All right, so let's get into it, guys. Guys, as you're coming on, please, if you would, click that link over there. StreamYard lets us know where you're coming in from, and let us know if you want to talk to us. Too close to the mic. Okay, pull the mic away again. All right, so click that link so we can see where you're coming from. And obviously, while we're here, engage us and ask us questions. Love to interact with people while we're doing these. It is a quick 15 minutes, but we try to interact with you guys if you come on. So multifamily. This can be from anything with 4 units and above, or some people consider anything than 1 unit and above, right? So you can have a duplex, a tri, a quad, and then obviously up from there. A few things that we really want to concentrate on is what can you get from these sellers? Most of the time, if you're looking at multifamily under, I would say 4 units, even under like 10 units, you're talking about a mom and pop shop. The bookkeeping's not that great, which is probably why they're selling it. And their record keeping overall is very, very lax, right? Relaxed. So it's really hard to get a P&L from somebody. It's also really hard to see if they've kept up with deferred maintenance, and then keeping track of deposits and all these kind of things, right? So these are things that really matter. First, you want to see leases. Is the building leased up? And what does that look like? Does it have current leases in place, or are they on a month to month? Did they background check those tenants, right? What kind of person is in this building or in this unit that you're about to take over? And did they get deposits? And do they have all those deposits on hand so that when you're going to buy the building, all those will transfer to you, so that you have that money, right? You got to take up, things that are wrong with the building, each unit, you got to be able to account for that, right? One of the big things that I was going to talk about was deferred maintenance. What does this look like with deferred maintenance? Have they done any maintenance on the building besides the exterior cosmetics that need to be done? And are they taking the time to keep track on each one, right? What does that look like for each unit? Are you tracking where you had to go in and fix a toilet? You had to go in and fix a sink. You had a floor repair, a door repair, an emergency door entry, ready to replace locks and stuff. Was there a switch out, right? Was there a clean out and a redo where you're bringing in new carpet, or you painted the unit, right? So what does this deferred maintenance look like on a profit and loss statement, or at least a P&L, to maybe show all those numbers to help you identify that and see what it looks like? Another big one would be utilities. What does utilities look like? Are there separate electric meters for each unit? Is the building's responsibility of the owner on the water to that owner, or does it have separate units? That's really hard to find and big, but typically the water would be the owner's responsibility, and then electrical would be metered separately. So you want to define that and be very, be very defined in that. Heating and cooling. How is that done? We actually picked up a duplex where we did not pay attention to this in the beginning, where the heating and cooling was split between the top and bottom unit. So that means that the downstairs thermostat was controlling the upstairs temperature as well. So then those tenants have to get along with each other in order to agree, right? Like, we're agreeing that it's cold up here and we want it to warm up, right? We're going into the winter months, or it's summer months and it's really hot. And maybe they have an AC unit, but heat rises, right? So they're burning up upstairs. So you want to be very defined in what that looks like. Are they separate units? Does each one have its own to control each own unit? That's very important. Another one we had an issue with was the address on a specific utility in the city's records that showed it wasn't even there, right? So they were talking about turning service off, but they didn't have the information to show that. They didn't have the correct address. So all these little things, do matter. And this happened to be a unit above a garage, right, on the same property as there was a single family house. So the single family had its own, and it was labeled as that, and then separately was supposed to have its own separate unit, but it wasn't recorded to show that. And then the other part of this would be, what about washer and dryer? What do those do, and are they separate? In this case, we're talking about one that we took down, which was a duplex, or two separate units on one building or one piece of land, but the single family didn't have its washer and dryer in its house. It had it in the garage, which was shared with the upstairs unit. So you got to be aware of that stuff as well, right? What's going on with that? How does that work out? How does that play out with tenants versus maybe an owner lives in the building and there's a tenant next door? How does that look and how does that play out? So these are things that we say that we pay attention to when we're looking at units to take down and buildings to own. And then another one that's a really big one is this back of the napkin math, just to really save yourself a lot of time. And I'm sure we've done another video of this somewhere before, or maybe it's on one of our lunchtime lives, but just a real quick review on it. So the easy back of the napkin math here would be, you want to get at least double digits, at least 10% return on what your investment is. Okay. So in this case, I would say somebody wants, let's just say it's a 4-unit building and they want $200,000. So that's roughly $50,000 a door, right? And quick math would say that if I were to make 10% off of $200,000, it would be 20 grand. So simple math would say I need to gross more than that to net 20. So to make it easy, in this case, we're using a 50% operating expense, which we know most buildings don't operate that way, but it helps you understand, if you dial into a profit and loss statement, maybe you chunk out 2-3%, and maybe it's operating at 30%. But if the numbers are already bad at 50%, it's not going to get any better if it's already bad as it is, right? So try to take your number as it's a 50% operating cost and just chop it in half. So if you're grossing $40,000 in this case, and you're going to net $20,000, and you're buying the building at $200,000, and that's a 10% return, or in what people would consider a cap rate of 10%. You can fluctuate cap rates and do different things with them, but it's a real good back of the napkin math, quick numbers to help you understand this formula, right? So keep that in mind as you're looking at buildings. When somebody says, like, hey, I got a 4-unit building and I want 200 grand, and you do the math backwards and you say $40,000 divided by 12 months is 33. So 3,333 a month. You divide that by 4 units. It's saying that you're making $833 a month. So that could be feasible, right? If you're talking about a 2-1 in a really bad area, and you're saying he's getting $1,500 a month, like, we're going to need to see that because it just doesn't make sense, right? So again, guys, quick numbers today. Quick numbers on what it looks like to do quick math to even see if it's worth diving into and going to look at the building. And then what are the little things that you need to look for right ahead of time and paying attention to? So a review of those would be looking at the leases, understanding what you're reading in the leases, right? Understanding what a background check on a tenant looks like. And then deposits. That's a huge one. Did you have your deposits that the owner retained? Did they spend it? Where is that money? Deferred maintenance. Did they do anything to the building over time, and specifically tracking on each unit or the building overall? Like, where's the paper trail showing what was done on the building, just to show deferred maintenance was handled? Understanding utilities. The utilities is the owner's responsibility or the tenant's responsibility. Are there separate meters for every unit? What do they look like? And is everything up to date and working correctly? And then heating and cooling. That was one that kind of bit us. I didn't pay attention to, knowing that it needed to be separate heating and cooling so that each unit is responsible for its own, right? You don't have to share that. And then the address of the utilities to be correct. That's another big one, right? To make sure that when you're looking into buying the building, that either it has 2 separate tax IDs, or it has 2 separate IDs for utilities. That's going to be a big one when it comes time to them saying that something wasn't paid and they're going to shut it off on a weekend and you can't control anything. So that was a big one that Ashley recently was able to hurdle and help us with, and spent almost all day with arguing with the city. So again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I appreciate it. For those that are listening to the replay, thank you so much. For those that are interested in anything to deal with wholesaling, please check us out at wholesalingoutofthebox.com. Always things there that you can purchase, tickets for local events that we do, our property walkthroughs, our meetings, CRM setups, skip tracing. There's a lot there to help you guys. So guys, thanks again for taking the time to hang out with us, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.